what's another response? This is probably the biggest response at the local level, and this is New York City. New York City, tends to be a leader with respect to employment regulation. Some people may think that's a good thing. Some people may think a bad thing. But New York City passed an AI bias law last year and became effective, became effective in January, but it wasn't enforced until July of 2023. And this, similar to some of the restrictions in Illinois and in Maryland, requires employers that use these automated decision tools, automated employment decision tools, that they have to notify people that that's what's being used. They have to get consent from people to allow the tools to be used, and they have to publish the results of any use of those things and make sure that they're auditing the tools for potential bias. It's a check, right? And I think the check is to incentivize employers to engage in their due diligence when working with developers to make sure that the products that they're using to weed out applicants, to conduct interviews, et cetera, are passing muster and aren't as biased as they otherwise could be. The notice, people say, well, if you notify an applicant that we're using AI and they want the job, are they not going to participate in the interview? Probably not. There's been some criticism that the law really hasn't been enforced. About 5% of employers, according to Cornell, are even complying with it. So it's also the first law. So we'll see where it goes, but it's a pretty good template in the sense of where the approach is right now at the state or local level with respect to employers, right? Focus on hiring, promoting, employee evaluation. So what's this mean for law enforcement? Artificial intelligence has been used in law enforcement for years, right? And in the fire service probably has as well, and in corrections. But law enforcement is where a lot of the concern, on the part of the public may be, and so that gets most of the attention. But using technology to try to predict crime, predictive analysis, relying on facial recognition technology, these are things that are not new to law enforcement, and the field is pretty well suited to the use of AI. When we think about ways that it can be utilized, right? And whether that's going through photo arrays, right, in a way that's much faster and maybe more accurate than people reviewing things. We know we have a system for looking at fingerprints. We've got people who wear cameras, right, all day and doing their jobs. Someone's got to review that stuff. Body-worn camera video processing is where all the action is really with respect to law enforcement and AI. But we've got automated report writing, call triaging, those types of things are where, law enforcement agencies, public safety agencies are dipping their toe in the use of AI. I want to tell you about a couple of companies that we've come across who are doing maybe interesting, maybe scary things with respect to the use of AI. One of the companies is called Benchmark Analytics. They're based in Chicago, or they come out of Chicago. And they use AI or they market their services as helping law enforcement agencies in wading through large amounts of data. And the focus that we're concerned about, these intervention systems, are ways to develop early warnings in police departments to identify officers who may be likely to engage in misconduct. The product that they have developed is called First Sign, and they just say that we use algorithms that compare present actions of an officer, observing his past actions or her past actions, and we look for some sense of excessive force or problematic behavior, right? They claim that they're going to predict 85% of all, quote, major adverse investigations before they even happen, right? We know who's going to shoot somebody and when, is what they're saying, right? And we're going to help you find that out so we can weed that person out. And if we look at the bottom of the slide there, the slide within the slide, we've got a couple of officers, one with a green and a thumbs up and one with a red and an alarm, right? That officer hasn't necessarily done anything yet, but the algorithm is saying you got to keep your eye on her. Is that appropriate, right? What are they looking at? What's the algorithm taking into consideration? Well, at least what they say is we're looking at arrest records, service call information, use of force data, IA reports, dispatch information, and other data, certainly looking at body camera footage where it exists and VR footage. All of this data is part of the algorithm. Don't know how it's weighted, don't know what's considered, how important it is, but that's what they're using And what they say is, we'll just give you a score, right? And look at the bottom bullet here. Each officer is given a risk score. Okay, based on system metrics, the supervisor uses the risk scores to determine whether the officer needs counseling, training, or to be terminated, right? And you see that up in the top left, Tom Cruise in Minority Report. Great movie, great science fiction, not necessarily the best way to run a police department, because what we're talking about here is pre-crime for police officers. If we wouldn't accept it for citizens, not sure why we should accept it for officers. But these are things to be aware of. This is a real product, right, that places are using, right? So we have to find out who's using it and why, right? Maybe it can be used appropriately, but these are the types of things that public safety unions and their agencies should be speaking about.